Hey guys, this is Project StarCraft coming at you again from Cloud Kingdom Ellie from the Blizzard ladder. We have spawning in the top right hand position our enemy, the Zerg. We don't like Zerg. Screw him. But we do like complexity a little bit. Its complexity's Gowser or Goswer. I think it's Gowser. They just misspelled the name, or that was what was not available. Spawn in the bottom left hand position from StarCraft's Reddit. We have our superhero Yeti spawning in the bottom left-hand position in the blue Terran trunks. We talked about Cloud King a little bit in one of the other videos that we were watching, but you've got a ramp. Leads into a natural with a pretty small entryway. Leads out into the main of the map, and you've got a third that's a pretty quick walk down here. Some wide stuff going on down here, and you've got a couple different choices for a fourth. Two Xel'Naga watchtowers cover the middle, which leads us into a TVZ on this map. This one looks to be a little bit on the long side, so this might be my last game for the night. Unfortunately, I probably won't be laddering. I still gotta do some chores, and I want tomorrow to look well, so I need some clothes and shit like that. Coming from Yeti, it looks like we're seeing a pretty standard opening. It looks like we're seeing 12 racks. We're not seeing an additional gas quite yet. Maybe we will. Probably not. Looks like we're actually seeing a lot of Terrans actually stay away and doing some gas openings quite late, actually favoring additional barracks or additioning a really early gas or an early expansion or early racks. Just like we see, Yeti doing some pretty cute stuff, actually putting down a proxy racks. I wouldn't say it's proxy, it's actually in his third. But Gowser actually putting down a hatch. He doesn't have a spawning pool up quite yet. But if it puts a spawning pool up anytime before this is done, he should be able to hold it off. And it looks like he's got it down pretty well timed. Yeti throwing down an orbital command. And we see Gowser actually chasing an SCV that Yeti has. Still setting up that additional barracks. It's just now coming online. It looks like I have... I hear units. For some reason they're kind of hard to hear though. Seems like the music's a little bit louder than the actual noise. We actually see a bunker actually being placed on the high ground. And Gowser actually did catch a whiff of it, but it looks like that... Yep, he's actually going back to actually poke at it. We actually see Yeti actually being really cheeky, actually putting a bunker down on the low ground, and a Mariner actually coming in. Gowser doesn't have quite a hit. He might have saw the Marine poke right up here, but he sees Yeti actually putting down another bunker. These 5 drones are actually coming in, trying to decide if they want to actually come in, but 3 Marines might make a pretty easy day, actually taking 2 drones pretty easily. That second barracks, that redundant barracks, actually being able to be pushed completely back. Marines actually getting a little bit ballsy and trying to take pot shots at the Overlord. They're actually putting their backs up against the bunker that's not quite done yet. The SCV and the Marines actually get in and actually able to completely deflect these Zerglings that are actually being able to be put in. And it looks like Yeti is trying to leapfrog, but the creep just creeped out just enough to be able to negate any other kind of shenanigans that are going on. Supply depot actually being placed down at home. We still don't see any gas. And yet he actually expanded behind this aggression, which shows just how awesome and imbalanced that Terran is. See some additional Marines on the way. We actually see 12 Zerglings and a Spine Crawler going down. So Yeti actually put it down in an additional bunker. And still has Mariners actually rallying 2 at a time. Actually doing a pretty good job of making sure that these Marines don't die. Actually poking up just a little bit. But the thing is that the barrack, or that the bunker that's actually right here, won't be able to actually fire on the hatchery that's right here. And I'm pretty sure that Spine Crawler will have range on the bunker. Maybe not. Maybe just one off. So Yeti's going to be able to do a pretty hard contain. Actually expanded behind this, getting some additional bunkers. The SCVs actually stay home. Or actually, they were planning on going home, but it looks like they're actually going to just reset to actually try to do their best to contain. Baneling Nest is about 75% of the way done, and speed looks like it's about to complete right when banelings are available. So it's additional banelings. We see the actual attack. It looks like the resources lost is pretty even, so Gowser won't be able to take a quick third. But as long as Yeti can be on the same basis as his opponent, he's going to be in a pretty good position. Actually putting down a supply depot up so that it's limiting coLgoswer's ability to be able to completely surround or completely flank. As we see some back home, some additional barracks being put down. coLgoswer, with the funny manner, actually goes sick contain. Now what? Expo and make stuff, yo. I'm just going to read what the chat says. You know, I'm sure that you guys can clearly see it, but you know what? That's the plan. So, Yeti actually doing a pretty cute contain right here. Some of the Terrans that I play with take some notes. And we actually see that proxy barracks actually coming back home. So, the additional tech labs being put down. Looks like he's not really comfortable with expanding quite yet. And actually, he's taken a lot of the Marines back, which is actually a fantastic idea. Actually, even bringing the SCVs home. So, I would even salvage that bunker just to do it. I mean, he really doesn't have really a good idea. I mean, he knows it's there, but actually ran a lot of that stuff home. So salvage that, get your money, go ahead and get that. I mean, he might have a slight idea that some people actually got out, but he doesn't really know what's going on over here. So excellent play by Yeti. Actually throwing down some additional, actually getting 2 racks with tech labs, so it looks like he's complementing his Marine force with some Marauders. And that is so beautiful. Actually salvaging that. That's actually a really, really sick play. And I mean, if you go look at the units lost tab, I mean, he had to expend all of those banelings. I mean, maybe if he caught the supply depot, maybe it was just a bad timing, or maybe he thought it was coming. He's actually raising his supply, or he's actually raising his command center because he knows that coLgoswer is actually going to be behind and he's actually going to be trying to go for a push. So we see Yeti actually throwing down some additional supply depots. Normally in order to bust a supply, he's still checking. I don't think he's going to want to land that quite yet, which is okay. It takes about 8 banelings to be able to make it up there. So we can see some additional banelings being warped in. So he's going to get up to about 11 banelings. Let's add on to that. Yeah, it's about 11 banelings. So he thinks he's okay. He's actually going to come down, and let's see what kind of actually exchange happens. So the Marines are actually done by. The Marines actually come in. A really bad timing for an SCV transfer. All those Marines get damaged. But we see some Marauders actually coming back, and he's actually able to completely deflect that. So, well played for him. While this is going on, a factory went down. A starport's actually being able to come back up. The Marauders are actually able to take quite a bit of damage, so he's going to be adding additional Marauders. It looks like we see a macro hatch about done, and it looks like a third's being started. Having a third at about the 10 or 11 minute mark isn't that bad. I mean, it's kind of later than what you're gunning for, but you can still be pretty successful with that third timing. So we see stem, we see +1, we see some bunkers being placed down, some typical Terran stuff. Yeti doing a really good job of that contain. I really do have to applaud him. That was a really excellent contain by him. And now we're getting into a part where both players can really stabilize. So we see some +1 coming from coLgoswer. We also see some +1 carapace, some additional queens and some lings, and Lair is just about to pop. Let's see what kind of tech decision he does. He's adding on some additional drones. We see some Marine Marauder medevac. So let's see if we can see Marine Marauder medevac work against, it looks like to be Ling Bling Infester. Third and fourth gas going down. We have centrifugal hukes going down for the banelings, which will make them go faster. Go zoom zoom towards your opponent. So again, Yeti's taking about a 15 food lead, which is scary. Additional bangs being placed in. It looks like that Yeti is actually adding on some siege tanks to his rotation. So even just a small amount. Guys, seeing a supply depot wall, being able to completely wall that off. See one ling over, kind of in a weird location to be able to lock that down. The medevacs are actually coming out and healing a lot of that up. This game going down. We have 22 links and Burrow on the way, in addition to a third command center from Yeti. Yeti actually stimming ahead to be able to Interestingly enough, focus fire each of the banelings. Doing a really cute pickup. Not going to be able to completely do a whole lot of damage, but able to pick up a good amount of the Marines. Actually able to save a Marauder. And you know what? He decides to say, F it. I'm going to drop to the high ground. Slew of Zerglings actually coming around from the back. We see +1 Terran infantry armor actually picking up. Some additional Marines, Marauders, Medevacs actually coming in. An additional siege tank to be able to lock all that down. We see some coLgoswer actually doing some really slow Overlord scouting. And that third looks like it just kicked on. It looks like he's converted to orbital command. Going to the unit counting station, we have 61 SCVs to 64 drones at coLgoswer, so I would have to actually yield and say that Yeti is actually doing a really good job. coLgoswer actually decided to take the 4th right here. This is normally a pretty easier or a pretty safer base. I mean, you can almost see them both on the same screen. This one's going to require a little bit more movement because even going from the 2nd, or from the natural, it takes quite a bit to do a run by. So these units, they decide to stem up, heal up as much as they can, and actually go straight for the mineral line. We know it'll take quite a bit, actually focus firing drones here and there. And able to pick them all up, except for a Marine. I'll be able to take it out. We go to the units lost tab, and Zerg's actually behind by about 1,000 resources. Actually 1,100 to be precise. We see some Baneling landmines on the map. We actually just see one Zergling actually preventing any kind of additional drops or any additional expansions from being taken. So a third just kicks on. We see some siege tanks actually locking in. No play from here, but a lot of the walls are still down. Some Zerglings are still running around the map, causing a muck. Going back to the production tab. Hive is just about 75% complete. We see an additional eBay coming down for Yeti and an armory, so it looks like that Yeti really wants to churn out a lot of the infantry upgrades. coLgoswer with some infestors being able to lock down a lot of the drops that are down. A drop come down in the main for Complexity's coLgoswer. Just taking out a couple drones, picking up and going home. Yeti doing a really good job of making sure that coLgoswer stays inside his base. See, was an additional Banelings morphed in. 2 melee upgrades are just about complete. 2 Carapace is about to wrap up as Adrenal Glands are starting. We see a 4th command center being plopped down for Yeti. Additional racks. We also see Terran vehicle weapons being started. We see some scans going down, and it's causing coLgoswer really just go all over the place and try to figure out where this drop is coming from. We also see an Ultralist Den coming in as +3 Zerg melee weapons are about to kick up. So we're kind of in a lull in the game. Both players are still just kind of macroing up and doing what they need to do, getting some Marines, getting some Marauders, and some tech labs and reactors to the base. The Ultralist Cavern is just about done. Looks like we see another drop going up in the base. Units are stemming and actually picking off whatever drones they possibly can. And the stream of Zerglings are actually able to come in, and even then, just taking what he possibly can, picking up, and GTFO. So doing a good job again. We'll look at the units resource tab, and every single drop is being really successful, adding additional more. Another drop coming down here, but it's not going to be nearly as successful. 2 Marauders are just able to get away, but probably not. Kablooey! We see a pretty big force actually roll out. And I don't know if that drone actually caught it. So the Bio Army actually rolls in. The siege tanks are actually sieging up, preventing coLgoswer from being able to really take that direct on. The units actually roll into the back. And the siege tanks are actually within position. We see some infestors actually rolling in from coLgoswer, actually throwing in a couple infestors, but not really doing it to do much. Actually taking a lot of the siege tank fire as the Zerglings and Banelings actually roll in and take out all of the infantry and all of the army from Yeti right here, but a lot of the stuff is picking up, but as we see this one, 7 Ultralists actually come back in. Their upgrades haven't quite kicked in yet, but it's not going to be very long until these Ultralisks are very, very powerful. 68 Lings also in production from coLgoswer, and the 3-3 upgrades are just about to wrap up, so these Zergling and Ultralisks are going to be doing a lot of damage. And again, we just see some standard or some typical macro coming in. So Gowser's really doing a good job of the upgrades. Getting that additional eBay, but not really doing a whole lot with it. And he can afford it. So it looks like that as the game goes on, it looks like that he's starting to lose a little bit of steam, but some really good play at the start. I don't know, sometimes you have to balance your macro and your micro. I mean, those drops were always being very, very successful. And they're doing a pretty good job of making sure that that stuff doesn't go down. Gowser being annoying, actually dropping creep, preventing Yeti's fourth base from being able to completely get shot down. The whole position actually keeps it there longer, so he's got to wait for all of that creep to subside, then realize that, hey, there's a Zergling there, so we'll have to scout. So it's going to take him a little while before he can actually be able to do it. We've got 14 Banes in production, 2 more Infestors. We see a scan up there, and that Ultralisk is just dancing. He doesn't want to step on him. It's going to make a pop, and just as looks like Gowser's actually leading the fight with the Ultralisk being sending in, they're actually coming up, so they're 5-3. But they're still melting. Quite a few Infestors actually roll in, being able to provide some Infested Terrans and some Fungals going down. The Banelings actually roll in, but all the Banelings have been exhausted, and Gowser's still about 15 food. The Marines and Marauders that are left over are still just piling onto these Ultralisks. The Ultralisk barely get out with his life, 8 HP, and only able to successfully complete with 1 kill. So actually able to completely lock that down. An additional base going down for Gowser, and that annoying Zergling is still there. We see a flock of Marines and Marauders actually takes down the last of these units. The one of the Ultralisks go down with a little bit of stim. Actually takes down quite a bit of damage from going on from over there as well. We actually see some concussive shells actually being researched from Yeti. Hooray for late game concussive shell transition, guys. That's an important metric. Now, Yeti is actually going to 5th base. He's still trying to land that base, and he still can't. Ashley's still scanning, and he's got a couple of Marines that are actually going to clean that up, so Yeti can finally land his 4th base. And he's actually getting the 5th up too, so that he'll be able to take another base. Dem mules, son. We see another sensor tower going down to help Yeti with being able to prevent any kind of counterattacks or anything like that. Gowser just trying to set up a proper attack pattern. We see an attack go in. We see some Fungals go down in the initial batch. Some Fungals going in from the back too, locking those units in. The Banelings are able to exchange properly with all of these units. And the Ultralisks are barely, or just slightly able to keep up. The Fungals go down to lock all these medevacs in. One more good Fungal able to take down 2 more. Looks like we might need to see 1 more Fungal to keep those guys down, but looks like those medevac pilots are feeling pretty good about life and actually running away. What is it about Fungals that actually keep an air unit from moving? It's like, I'm flying, I'm stuck exactly where I am. Full speed ahead. But that one baller Marine is still holding fort right here, and those Baneling landmines really aren't doing anything. It looks like that Yeti is actually putting his central base of operations in this setup over here, as opposed to utilizing this area and actually checking what's going on over here. Just as I said, that Marine that valiantly tried to fight actually got taken out by Gowser's Lings. So at this point, Gowser's got all the upgrades he wants. He's just pretty much starting to duke it out with Yeti in a Zergling Ultralisk kind of battle. We actually see a Thor on the way. Let's see what factory the Thor is in. It's actually, one's in this one, but one's also coming out of the other factory too. So we see Yeti actually taking a Marine over here and taking out the Overlord and the Zergling that's over here. A scout actually shows from Yeti's scan where Gowser's army is. So both are just kind of getting set up for whatever they need to do. We've got an additional base being locked down over here. I'd love to see an Ultralisk burrowed. An Ultralisk preventing another base from being able to it's like, I'm just gonna bring a couple Marines to take care of the Zergling that's over here. Oh my god, it's an Ultralisk! We see +2 vehicle weapons on the way, so the siege tanks and Thors are gonna be even that much more strong. The siege tanks go right here. Oh! Those Baneling landmines aren't doing too much. We'll try to keep an eye on them as Gowser's army decides to flank to the right. And we see an additional base go up in the top left-hand corner. So Gowser will be up to get up to 5 bases, as long as Yeti doesn't get when that's actually happening. But Gowser being really patient with these guys. Almost seemed like he forgot about them, but look how much they can see. All it takes is just one scan or one Raven to just fly over, and those Banelings are done. We see Thoris here. They've got one. They're being really patient trying to buy their time. And we see the actual units actually pacing themselves over here. Gowser is saying, hey, in order to get to my 5th base, you're going to have to go through me. But the thing is that this attack path right into the base is pretty clear. So, Gowser just responding to what he sees based on scans and based on his watchtower placement. And it looks like these units actually unsieged and are deciding to go home. Another scan going up. We see Zergling, or we see Ultralisks and Infestors actually coming in. The siege tanks actually are able to siege up in time. And yeah. So Creep being able to be locked down. We see a Marine Marauder Thor ball actually going out. It looks like Gowser's decided to commit partially. Some Banelings actually rolling in. The Ultras are just raping everything. So a lot of Infestors are going down, actually locked down all the bio that's over here. There's still a couple siege tanks up, but the Ultralists are able to still completely mop up. The Fungals are going down, completely locking down all the medevacs that are over here, and it'll just be just a moment for all those medevacs to go down. So Yeti actually down about 50 supply for the first time this game. So we actually see a 5th base being scanned in by Yeti. Those Marines and Marauders are lucky. Some additional units actually being burrowed. We actually see a Ling that's actually just kind of checking to see what's going on. Those Slings are actually going to prevent that Marine and the Marauder from being able to get up there. So Gowser's actually in a pretty good position. Maybe I missed a drop, but it looks like Gowser's Ultralisk Cavalry was taken out. Sorry for missing that, guys. But it looks like, based on a drop, it looks like that particular structure was taken care of. So, and just as we said, just not even a minute ago, Yeti was down about 50 supply. He's actually ahead of Gowser again. So, Yeti actually being able to take a 5th base with 6 command centers. Going back to the units, lost tab, it's actually kind of evened out. When you're actually this high, about 2,000 resources, is just a drop in the bucket. It's not even 10% for both of these guys. But as we can see, we see an impending counterattack coming down from Gowser with a bunch of Zerglings. That Planetary Fortress would not get up in time, and unfortunately, all of these SCVs are just not going to be able to see the light of day. We actually see a Baneling nest also being morphed in too. So is there a drop that I'm just not seeing over here? Again, I'm sorry, guys. So we see some scans actually locking down. We see some siege tanks being placed and some units stimming, but not able to do too much. So Gowser decides that now's not the time that he wants to fight. He's putting down some additional spine crawlers. And it looks like, yeah, he's putting down his 5th just to make sure that any kind of small counterattack's actually completely deflected. It's always fun when you get to these points of the game. Now with Baneling's back, we got 20, almost 20 Banelings actually being morphed in. Yeti decides that now's the time to attack. The Infestors actually come up to throw down some Fungals to buy some time and actually weaken the units. So there's actually quite a few units that are actually in the red or yellow health. And Gowser decides to stream on in with Lings, Blings, and Ultralisks. Blings actually connecting with Infestors, which is not kind of what they wanted to do for. A lot of the siege tanks and a lot of the units are actually still able to fire. But it looks like Gowser is still just able to overcome this. And we see a good dogfight. The medevacs are actually picked up, and there's still quite a few Infestors left over. 48 more Lings on the way, with 4 Infestors to replenish. And it looks like we've got 4 more Thors on the way. So let's just take a look at some of the infrastructure that Yeti has. I mean, he's running out of units, but he's running out of minerals. He's actually down to his 3rd. He really needs to retake his 5th, but he's kind of forgot about it. He's got so many factories and so many barracks. I mean, he's got down to like 4 factories and like 8 barracks or something like that. Something really cute. So the thing, though, you got to be really careful, though, is that Yeti's about to run out of minerals. He's about 33% left of the minerals that he had left. At that 4th base, his 2nd's mined out, his 3rd is mined out. And literally, he's trying to take this 5th, but pesky Zerlings being able to prevent the burrow. And Yeti, I mean, Yeti really either has to completely lock down this 5th and just say, hey, I'm going to be locking this down, or he needs to make a decision pretty quickly. He's actually starting to get down on gas as well, so, we see some excellent fungals coming down from Yeti, and with 2 fungals, actually killing about 11 and 12 SCVs apiece, so about 25 SCVs died right there. And it looks like that Gowser's starting to get more efficient in the exchange, and we see Gowser coming in with one more batch, and Siege takes Siege, but it's just not enough. Marines and Marauders are sitting trying to run back, but there's just so many Ultralisks. The SCVs come up and say they have to provide some sort of bunker. A lot of these units are still able to fire. Infestors are actually being able to lock in a lot of the units that are down here. Thors are still firing on all of these Ultralisks. And with just a little bit more to go, our superhero Yeti has to tap out. Wow. I was sad. I was going to be very, very happy seeing our Reddit superhero being able to take out a guy from one of the named teams, Complexity. So he's just scanning along the map, seeing what other kind of information he could find. And a valiant attempt, a really nice opening from Yeti, and some pretty decent macro. It's just the exchanges eventually just did not favor him. Wow. Excellent game. Just from watching the game with no kind of preview, it's going to be very difficult for Yeti to be able to find what that one mistake was. Got to find that one mistake, first mistake, and lock it down. And go from there. But excellently played game.